When you are so dominant, people are seriously considering that you're the greatest player of all time. That is what everyone was wondering out loud after the 2000 playoffs. It was a completely dominating performance from start to finish. He showed why he's arguably the greatest of all time when talking about players at their peak. This playoff run deserves a deep dive and recognition of his legendary performance. Let's start with the numbers. He averaged 30.7 points on 56.6% shooting, 15.4 rebounds, 3.1 assists, and 2.4 blocks per game. He recorded the 6th most total points, 10th most rebounds, and 20th most blocks for a single postseason. Now let's look at his advanced numbers. He earned 4.7 win shares, 2.6 value over replacement player rating, 8.1 box plus minus, and 30.5 PER. All of those metrics, aside from box plus minus, are among the top 20 in playoff history. The numbers say he was dominant, but it's one thing to look at the box score, and another to witness him in action. So here's a brief highlight reel of all the defenders he destroyed for those 2 months.
The Kings have got to be very careful of their concentration.
Shaquille O'Neal, up high and down hard. O'Neal spinning and scoring +1. To be consistent and make the shots, otherwise I'll have fouls. Shaq getting the basket and drawing the foul. Harper around Pippen, confronted by Sabonis, he can't finish it. Kobe Bryant off balance, and Shaquille O'Neal is there.
He was truly unstoppable. There were a multitude of games where he had monster stat lines. There were 5 times where he scored over 40 points. And he set the tone right from the beginning. In the first game of the playoffs against the Sacramento Kings, he went off for 46 points on 64% shooting, 17 rebounds, 5 blocks, and 2 steals. That is a perfect example of what made this playoff run so special. It wasn't just that he scored a lot of points, but he completely controlled the boards and he was the ultimate rim protector. Teams had a lot of trouble generating any kind of offense in the painted area. In the first round series, that played a big factor in Chris Webber's inefficiency. He averaged 42.7% from the field. People forget this, but the Lakers were a strong defensive team. They finished first in defensive rating and opponent's field goal percentage in the regular season. Shaq was the anchor of arguably the best defensive team in the league. The following series against the Phoenix Suns shows the tough decisions that the opposing teams had to make as far as how to defend him. Do you throw your biggest guy on him and play him straight up to contain the rest of the team? The Suns started the series out with that game plan, and he proved that there isn't a single player that could stop him one-on-one. The Lakers ended up winning by 28 points, and he finished with 37 points on 54% shooting, 14 rebounds, and 4 blocks. The Suns learned their lesson, and they sagged in on him much more for Game 2. The results were the same. He ended the game with 38 points on 57% shooting, 20 rebounds, and 5 blocks. Unsurprisingly, the Lakers won the series in 5. The next round was one of the toughest matchups the Lakers had to face during their 3-year title run. The Portland Trail Blazers, the best team money can buy. The famous words from Phil Jackson. Portland might have thought that their depth was going to be able to offset the scoring of Shaq and Kobe, but they faced a harsh reality in Game 1. The Lakers ended up winning the series opener by 15 points behind another dominating performance from the Diesel. He had 41 points on 56% shooting, 11 rebounds, 7 assists, and 5 blocks. After that performance, the Blazers vowed to not let Shaq beat them by himself. They were going to force the unproven role players to step up. I am not exaggerating when I say that they threw 3 to 4 people on him at a time just to get the ball out of his hands. It didn't work at first, and then they were as close as you could get to coming back from a 3-1 series deficit. It all came down to the biggest game of his career. It wasn't pretty, but it had a storybook ending. In Game 7, he had only 9 shot attempts, and that wasn't due to the pressure being too much for him. The Blazers were either surrounding him with multiple defenders, or they were putting him on the free throw line. Someone else needed to step up. Someone needed to start making shots to spread the floor and give space for O'Neal to operate. That's what happened in the infamous fourth quarter. Brian Shaw made a couple of threes. Robert Horry, of course, stepped up, and Kobe forced the Blazers to pay attention to him. That allowed Shaq to score 9 big points that brought the Lakers back from a 16-point deficit. That all culminated in the most memorable moment of the big fella's career. It's the most famous lob slam in the history of the NBA.
Portland has 3 timeouts left. The Lakers have 2. Bryant to Shaq.
As incredible as that was, it was his performance in the finals that put this playoff run in the GOAT conversation. His numbers are out of this world. He averaged 38 points on 61% shooting, 16.7 rebounds, and 2.7 blocks per game. That is the 4th highest points per game average in finals history. From an analytical standpoint, he had a game score average of 30.6. That is more than anything Michael Jordan or LeBron James have ever done in the finals. There were 3 games where he scored over 40 points. His least efficient performance was in Game 4 when he shot 52%. The Pacers were so helpless that their only hope was to simply send him to the foul line. Just look at Game 2 when he had 39 free throw attempts. Speaking of Game 2, this is what makes his performance in the finals even more impressive. Kobe Bryant suffered a sprained ankle late in the first quarter. So the Lakers had to win that game without their all-star guard, and Shaq delivered with 40 points, 24 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 blocks. We all know that Kobe came back and did his thing in Game 4, but the effects of that injury took a toll in Games 5 and 6. So with Kobe struggling, Shaq had his most impressive performance in the title clinching game. His ability to deliver the title to LA with the Pacers refusing to go away in the fourth quarter is what puts him in the top tier of playoff performers. The one play that still sends me chills when I watch it occurred early in the fourth quarter with the Lakers down by 1.
It's a 2-on-1 break. Kobe Bryant flips it to Shaq, who is back in, and the shot goes down. So is Shaq.
We were all going crazy, but Shaq showed the rare sign of being human when he was holding onto his knee. He needed a few seconds to regroup, and then he got up with the Superman theme song blasting through the speakers. It was so fitting for the type of heroic performance he had in that fourth quarter. He recorded 13 points on 6 of 6 shooting and 3 blocks. It was a perfect way to end such an iconic playoff run, which leads us to the legacy of the 2000 playoffs from Shaquille O'Neal. We all know the numbers and records he broke now. As impressive as that is, there's one more factor that I have to mention. That's all the testimonials of the players or coaches that had to face this monster during that time. When they are asked about Shaq in 2000 or what they needed to do to stop him, their reaction usually goes something like this. They pause, laugh, and shake their heads while they try to describe that there was nothing anyone could do. When a player leaves that kind of impression 2 decades later, that may be more impactful than what the numbers say. There aren't many players that can have that kind of effect on a playoff intensity basketball game. Shaq is one of the few players that could say that. That is why I believe it has to be mentioned among the 5 greatest playoff runs of all time. I wouldn't blame anyone that has this number 1. But what about you all? Where would you have this ranked among the greatest playoff runs of all time? What do you remember the most from that postseason? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.